At the beginning of this Congress, Speaker McCarthy said, there's not going to be a blank check to Ukraine. But when we bring witnesses before us to ask them whether or not we're complying with our own laws regarding end-use monitoring of materiel, they cannot say we're even following our own laws.
Not a dime more for Ukraine, and every dime that we've already spent needs to be accounted for right now.
I'm calling for an audit of every single penny that has been sent to Ukraine, including aid money and any other monies that have been given to the Ukrainian government.
Hey, what's up everybody? Back with another video from Kyiv, Ukraine. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Hope you like the content. And just to give you a little background on me, I'm a former U.S. Army intelligence officer with over 22 years of service, and I've got about 7 years as a contractor for a couple of those funny three-letter agencies you may or may not heard of. So in all that time, I learned two things. I learned how to conduct research and analysis, and I also learned that you don't take a politician's word for anything. So as you can tell by the title of the video, we're going to look at tracking Ukraine, U.S. aid to Ukraine. And as you can tell by some of the video clips you just watched, we're already being fed narratives. So it's an election year in the States, and politicians are going to do what politicians do. They're going to create their narratives to play to their base, their constituents, their voters, and sometimes it's not always the truth. So right now, it's highly contested in Congress, in the Senate, and later to be in the House of Representatives. They're trying to pass the Ukraine, is known as Ukraine aid bill. It's actually funding for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. And there's about $60 billion of that benchmarked for Ukraine. So one of the common arguments you hear, as you saw by the video clips, is a lot of people say, opponents of the bill say they don't want any more aid to Ukraine without accountability and oversight. As you see, some of our elected officials are telling people there's no accountability and oversight. I see on all the message boards, the social media, people just screaming, no more aid to Ukraine without accountability. You know, we've sent hundreds of billions and none of it's accounted for. It's funny because I hear one person, maybe it's a politician or something, say this, and then I see everybody else repeat it. And you know what, when I kind of hear that, you know what it reminds me of?
Oh, they took our jobs! They took your jobs!
They took your jobs! They took your jobs!
Yeah, like that, exactly. So anyway, so I'm going to introduce you guys to something today. You guys have heard me talk about it in some of my old videos, or some of my other videos. And now I'm going to show you what it is and dive into it and give you a little background. So look down here at the screen. We are going to start off with looking at the Joint Oversight, JSOP, the Joint Strategic Oversight Plan for Ukraine, also known as JSOP. So when we look at this first page here, one of the first things, I'm going to bounce back and forth between tabs a little bit, but one of the first things I want you to notice is specifically this paragraph right here. So it says that this report builds on the JSOP and fulfills the Department of Defense Office of Inspector General's reporting requirements under Section 1247 of the National Defense Authorization Act for 2023. That's the FY23 NDAA. And state and USAID OIGs. So basically what this is telling you is the FY23 National Defense Authorization Act mandated oversight and accountability by 3 offices of Inspector Generals: Department of Defense, Department of State, and USAID, the United States Agency for International Development, or something like that. They work with a lot of humanitarian projects and things like that. So the reason that's important is because you have to understand the NDAA is where the military gets its defense budget from. The NDAA is the law that creates the funding for the budget. So the oversight and accountability and all the aid going to Ukraine actually comes out of the defense budget. So it's important to know that, and it's important to know that every year, Congress is supposed to pass basically the budget. Fiscal year, U.S. government fiscal years run from October to September, October 1st to September 30th. And as you know right now, we are on a continuing resolution. So they haven't passed the full budget for this year. And I think part of the budget's only passed to fund the government through March 9th. So that's why they're trying to pass these supplemental bills to aid Ukraine and Taiwan and Israel, because they haven't passed the full Department of Defense budget for FY24 yet. Like I said, it should have been passed. It should have been passed and enacted on October 1st, but they're still arguing in Congress about it. So like I said, I just want to kind of show you guys a little bit of this. So I'm going to go back here and back up. So JSOP, I'm going to back up just a little bit and show you here. So this is the JSOP here. You can, oh, I'm sorry, like I said, this is all mandated in the FY23 National Defense Authorization Act. If you guys want to Google FY23 NDAA, you can read that. It is long, it is cumbersome, it's a little hard to get into. If you use it, I suggest you use the Control F find function so you can kind of jump around through there. So basically the FY23 NDAA mandated oversight and accountability for all the aid going to Ukraine. That didn't happen, it didn't come into effect until I think the JSOP was established in December 2022. Prior to that, they were using something called EEUM. It's something end user monitoring. It was just really loose set of regulations. Really the framework wasn't established. And so up until December 2022, when the JSOP was established, there wasn't a whole lot of accountability and oversight. There was some, but not like there is now. So if you look down through this, you go down to the bottom of this article and you can read a little bit about here. You know, it talks about this is a collaborative effort by the 3 different offices of Inspector General we just talked about. You go down and you click here. You can either look at just the in brief right here, or it's just like a quick 1 page, or you can click on this and read one of the reports. Now, see, JSOP preparing this JSOP. This is a report that's actually submitted to Congress. You know, they said there's no accountability. And if I recall correctly, from the time this was enacted until December 2023, there were 14 oversight and accountability reports submitted to Congress by offices of Inspector Generals. Despite any politician telling you there's no oversight and accountability, yes, there is. Absolutely there is. So if you can run down through this and read this all you want, and it talks about the different things that the things they're looking at, the equipment they're tracking and all this, but I wanted you to look at this. So I told you that 3 offices of Inspector General are mandated to do the accountability and oversight. But if you look here in the JSOP itself, and you look here, there's actually an oversight interagency working group. And look at all these different offices of Inspector General. So this is not just 3 offices of Inspector General as mandated, it's all these other agencies, to include the Army Audit Agency, Intelligence Community Office of Inspector General, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is kind of a whole of government accountability and oversight approach. So it's not, it's a pretty comprehensive program. Oh, go back up, back out of this. So that was January, here's one March, 2023, same thing. You can click on the report. I think, let me go back up and look at this and this one. So the first one I showed you, yeah, so this is January 20th. So you see this is the Department of Defense, OIG, and the second one is the Department of State. So each one of the offices of Inspector Generals puts out the report from their office. So basically you'll have three different reports come out every time they come out, because each agency has to submit one for their office. And so, like I said, same thing. You can click on this, or you can look at the 1 page, or you can click on this and read through them. And this one, you'll see it looks almost like the last one. Here it shows the 3 different symbols for the 3 different offices of Inspector General. And just like the last one, as you scroll down and read the intro and everything, get the table of contents, and then look, and then this one also lists the interagency working group by all the different offices of Inspector Generals that are helping with the oversight. So to be sure, there are like I said, it's a pretty comprehensive program. And here's even a breakdown. Said you feel free to look into all this. And like I said, I believe there's 14 different reports out there submitted to Congress. So they're coming out almost monthly. There, see, look at these oversight report. Here's countering Russian influence fund. So money that's going out of this, the money that was allotted for Ukraine, it goes to all this different stuff, to include a countering Russian influence fund. So all these things that were funded under this budget, and I believe within the NDAA there was something called the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, USAI. And so all that, like I said, all this comes out of there. So like I said, you can run down through it and you can look, and it is all accounted for dollar for dollar. So let me spin over to this. So that was the FY23, and of course my tab's not going to open. my screen record is in the way. Let me see if I can do it this way. Nope. Okay, my screen record is not nope. My screen record little panel is blocking one of my tabs, so I can't open the one I wanted to show you. There's actually FY24 JSOP is also out. You can read about that, read what they're going on, read what's going on. So I want to show you this article too. Besides it being just a program within the U.S. government, because there's going to be people out there that will say, oh, even though this is going on, it's still the U.S. government, you can't trust them, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to show you this article. It's by CSIS, the Center for Strategic International Studies. If you want to learn about them, you can click on this link. You can go about CIS and you can CSIS and you can read it. So this is an international bipartisan nonprofit organization that kind of looks at all government foreign policy and just kind of the procedures. It kind of acts almost like a government watchdog type thing. So this was a pretty good article they wrote, ensuring oversight U.S. and aid to Ukraine. And I just wanted to go down and I want to show you something really. I want to show you the conclusion, but I saw something when I was reading right before I started the video that I thought was pretty interesting. Yep, okay. So here's the link for the NDA, the 2024 FY24 NDAA. So it says, as Congress is working to fund the USA military through FY24 NDAA, which passed, there is a Representative Chip Roy out of Texas included an amendment to this to create SIGUA. So this is the Special Inspector General for Ukraine Oversight. So there's an additional entity that's been created on top of the 3 different offices of Inspector General, which were mandated by the FY23 NDAA. So this is going to create another entity to oversee all those too. So there's quite a bit of redundancy out there. And so I wanted to point that out, and you can click on this and it will pull up the amendment and you can read the entire thing. And by the way, I will put all the links for all these references in the description of the video. Having said that, I have a caveat. So even though I've had this channel for like 3 years, going on 4 years, YouTube's got this weird thing where in order to make the links clickable, I have to verify with my ID and all this other good stuff. I didn't want to do that, so I initiated this weird thing that's supposed to basically you have to build, your channel has to build rapport. It said it takes about 2 months. So if you're watching this, you'd be better off watching on a computer, so you can just copy and paste those links, unless you can hold down, copy and paste on your cell phone and then post them into a browser as well. But I will put reference links to all these in the video description, so you can go out and don't take my word for it. You can go out and look all this up yourself and read through it. So like I said, here's the amendment by Chip Roy. You can read down through there, and it talks about establishing the Special Inspector General for Ukraine assistance. And we'll go back out of there. Oh, I'm sorry. And the last thing I wanted to show you, the reason I pulled this article up, you can read this article. It kind of gives you an oversight of the JSOP program, talks a little bit about the money, how it's appropriated, who's dispersing it, yada, yada, yada. But if you go down here to conclusion, this is something I thought was pretty important. There we go. So I'm going to be focused on the top part of this right here. So it says the calls for oversight to U.S. aid to Ukraine are justified and will ensure continued support from Congress and the American people. However, the mechanisms put in place by the 3 offices of Inspector General at the U.S. Department of Defense, Department of State, and USAID already provide the necessary oversight and accountability. So there it is, laid out for you. A third-party think tank who looked at this comprehensive program and decided there's no point creating, redundant entities and things like that. Rand Paul, one of the things he keeps saying, not a penny more to Ukraine unless we create, a oversight committee. Well, you don't need an oversight committee. You've got 3 offices of Inspector Generals. Now you have a Special Inspector General that's been created to oversee the oversight. And the problem with politicians, you want to create a committee, but then you have to fund the committee. So like I said, it's just redundant, it's just crap. To be fair, with Rand Paul, I don't know, he did not vote for the FY23 NDAA. I don't think he voted for the FY24. I don't know the last time he actually voted for a defense budget. He is very against defense spending or anything like that. So he's probably going to be a hard no. Josh Hawley, one of the other senators who you know is a hard no. That's my senator. I voted for him twice, so I am not liking Josh Hawley's stance on this. So that's it. I just wanted to show you guys the JSOP, show you where it is. You know, I dig into this stuff all the time, and what really bothers me is this is all out. This is all out for public knowledge. You know, one good thing about the U.S. government is anytime they do this spending or create these programs, it's publicly available information. But instead of people actually caring about a subject, getting into it and reading it, they would rather just listen to a politician or somebody on YouTube or TikTok or the media. You know, they'll let them spin their narrative and then they won't double check them. So yes, I realize the irony of me saying that since I'm playing this on YouTube. But as I said, don't take my word for it. Here's the references. Go out, find the information yourself, and then, you know, make your own conclusions, because you know, that's all we should do. And I will actually use this opportunity as a call to action, if you would. If your politician is somebody that's telling you, one of these if your state politician is one of the politicians telling you there's no oversight, then hold them responsible for that. Hold their feet to the fire. You know, reference the JSOP and say, why are you telling us this? Either you are willfully lying to us, or you're not doing your job. You're not doing your due diligence and actually know the material that you're talking about and you're voting on. So like I said, don't forget, members of Congress work for the people. The people don't work for members of Congress. So like I said, if they're lying to you, straight out lying to you, hold their feet to the fire and hold them responsible. So that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I don't wanna, you know, if you watch any of my other videos, you know I have a tendency to go down some rabbit holes. So I'm going to do a couple other videos in the future on actual funding for Ukraine, how it's funded. You know, this was pretty much just tracking aid. I'm going to go in and talk about how it's funded and things like that. Not to get into it now, but just to kind of tease up that. I think the administration and the politicians who are working on pushing these aid packets are doing an extremely poor job of conveying the message of support to the public. You know, why they're not making a good case to the American citizens on why we should pass this aid. And just like I said, just as a little teaser. So the FY23 NDAA, of the $46 billion that was allocated for Department of Defense military aid to Ukraine, almost 90% of that stayed within the US system via Presidential Drawdown Authority. And I'll go through that on the video, and I'll show you the references there as well when I do it. And then this one I thought is actually kind of interesting. This is a Republican senator, and his name is, it's like Max Wayne Mullins or something like that. I believe he's a Republican senator out of Oklahoma. He's one of the people who is actually one of the bipartisan senators who's working on the current Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan aid bill. And he said this on Fox News the other day. And this is extremely important. This right here is what people need to hear.
So right now, a lot of people, Eric, has got stuck on the fact that this is a Ukraine bill. It's not. It's really a national security bill, and I'm not trying to put a spin on it. I just want people to understand real numbers. 75% of this bill actually stays inside the United States.
There you go. 75% of this new bill stays within the United States, creates jobs. Yes, you're going to have people say it supports the military-industrial complex, and my argument's always been, is that the same military-industrial complex that allows you and your family to sleep peacefully at night? In addition, if you're not a big fan of the military-industrial complex, you might want to look at your allocations on your 401ks, because most of them, unless you actually go in and change your investment allocations, if you just have them, you know, set up for the company or the firm to automatically invest for you, most of them are heavily invested in Department of Defense and petroleum fuels. So yeah, anyway, so I just wanted to kind of tease those things up. If you do support aid to Ukraine, and by the way, I have a military background, so I don't really care about politicians' arguments. For me, this is extremely important, obviously. You know, and I kind of focus on the military aid, not the stuff that's pushed through USAID and Department of State, because to be quite frank, it's a military aid that's keeping my ass alive right now. So that's what I tend to focus on because of my background. I know where to find this information. So if you have people out there arguing that, you know, there's no accountability, show them this video. If you have politicians that are telling you there's no accountability, reference a JSOP. Educate yourself, go out and find things on your own, because they're all publicly available, and that way nobody on TikTok, no politician can lie to your face. So that's it. Going to go ahead and wrap things up. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. They took our jobs.